whether it be in corporate America or inside of our government. The fact that in the midst of tragedy, when you don't know the names of any of these people, he was just asked recently, will you be going to the site of the crash? And he said, the water, right? As if that was an absurd question to even be asked. People are in the midst of grieving, and all any of them had to say was, this is a horrible tragedy, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. Even if they believe the things that they say, it was amidst tragedy. People lost their children, their loved ones, right? And so the idea that as Americans, we're going to forget what responsibility our leaders have in holding space for tragedy, for grief, and having sympathy in these moments, and that what we saw is going to be normalized, is what scares me the most about the direction that our country is headed in, that these types of reactions will just be the norm, and we will forget what decency, kindness, and empathy look like in moments of tragedy.
We actually have that soundbite. Let me play it for you, and then I'll get Dean's reaction. Take a listen.
Do you have a plan to go visit the site or meet with any of the
I have a plan to visit, not the site, because you tell me, what's the site? The water?
Or to meet with the first responders?
What, am I going to go swimming?
Yeah.
You know, I'm old enough to remember and certainly have lived through so many national tragedies in this country where the President of the United States comes out as a kind of consoler in chief. It's one of the kind of like most basic job descriptions of an American president, is that when something happens that the country collectively grieves over. When we were finding out that there were like figure skaters that were young kids pursuing their dreams, dying in that, when we know that members of our military die in that, collectively we grieve. Your job is to kind of come out there and offer, you know, a shoulder for the country to collectively grieve on, not, what do you want me to do? You want me to go swim in the water? And yet that's what that guy does.
Yeah, and that was a way of sort of a joke. Like at a MAGA rally, that kills. I have to be honest, because big laughs, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The cruelty, that kind of things. Look, I'm from Jersey. Donald Trump's a scumbag. I mean, I think we can say that. He's a vile, racist piece of garbage. He happens to be president of the United States, so we have to pay attention. If he wasn't, he'd be one of vile people out there in this country. I just wrote an article for my Substack, because I'm always here to plug stuff. That's why I come on the show. So check out the Dean's Report. No, but I literally writing about, Donald Trump said common sense. They said, how do you know that DEI was involved? Common sense. And I cited a famous quote from George Wallace, the segregationist. And they said, why are you so hard on segregation? Why are you so much in favor of it? And he said, quote, common sense. They don't invent new things. They copy the same playbook. The fascists, the dictators, the white supremacists. And this idea that Donald Trump is the defender of white supremacy has been with us. White supremacy is as American as apple pie. You have to look at the history of this country from the original Constitution, which had the 3/5 compromise and the Fugitive Slave Clause, to after the Civil War. The Civil War itself was to defend white supremacy. Jim Crow, George Wallace, segregation today, tomorrow, and forever. Donald Trump is just the next iteration of that. So the point is, we got to stand up to this guy, because if not, that's everything. Diversity to them is different shades of white people.
He did not have to come out for a press conference. Nobody was like, hey, where's the president, right? He just kind of like, I mean, people were still kind of figuring out what happened. I don't think we had even heard officially yet from investigators on it. And yet here was the president wanting to kind of like just suck the energy out of the room, suck the spotlight, go out there. Kristi Noem's now doing it as well. She's out there on the waters. But he's out there speaking on things that nobody was waiting to hear him talk about. No insight, no added value.
So, you know, what we do as journalists is that we get on the phone and we talk to sources, right? So I was talking to a flight planner who works with air traffic control. And I was like, when your colleagues hear this being said, what's the reaction? It's very simple, actually.
Yeah.
So we all fly in planes. We all see the amount of people flying in planes. There's a lot of air traffic, and there are not enough air traffic controllers and flight planners to keep up with it. Now, the United States of America is actually becoming a more diverse country, whether Donald Trump and all of his people like it or not. The demographics of this country are that it is becoming more and more non-white. Therefore, this is what the person I spoke to said, attacks on DEI are only going to further exacerbate air traffic controller staffing issues, because you want more young people, more diverse people, because our country is not made up of older, heterosexual white men, right? That is going to be the future of air traffic control. So when he's saying, oh, DEI, my source was just saying that's probably going to turn off a lot of people because it's not a lot of money. It's high stress. This generation wants to have life balance kind of situation.
Yeah, but
you don't have that.
We're also in a situation now where he is creating, and those that support him are creating, a culture whereby every single person who is not white in a position of responsibility in this country
It's suspect.
is now viewed with suspicion.
Yeah, but
and that fundamentally tears at the fabric of our society, as we've seen. And Charlie Kirk has said, you know, when he gets on a plane, he sneaks a peek to see if into the cockpit to see if the pilot is black or not. And that is where we are as a country because the president of the United States is setting that tone.
Right, but you know, we've lived through this. I did a piece in mid-1990s. I don't know if you're, but you know, it was like, oh my God, multiculturalism is going to destroy the United. I mean, do you remember this?
Sure.
Like, multiculturalism is going to destroy us. It's like, okay, how much longer is this going to go on?
Yeah.
But you're right, it is creating a situation where, and I've always been suspect, by the way.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, okay, but who's laughing now? Because I got the Pulitzer and the Peabody and the Emmys and blah, blah. We hate to have to do that, but if you want to play that way,
I'm so sorry that we have to put you next to Dean on this because he doesn't have
I've won the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce Award from 1998.
That was definitely, was that right?
That's big. That was kind of no.
Was
I
it?
didn't even win that. I lost that one. And then third.
Out of 3.
Right.
All right, Maria Hinojosa, thank you so much. Really love having you here. It was a pleasure. Please stick around, Dean Danielle. Coming up, we're going to get thoughts on Friday night purges at the FBI.